It's like a Chinese style that you have to see everything in a context and as a whole. So I couldn't resist bringing all the things relevant to this particular one. And this is a manuscript in 103 volumes. I've got about 2 of these folders, which has about 20 volumes. It's a manuscript which didn't have manuscript shelf mark. It's just put on shelves alongside with Backhouse's printed books. So it wasn't very visible at the beginning, and then I sort of had a look, and it looks very nice, and you could see that imperial covers, the binding, these papers, also special papers for the court, imperial court printing and manuscripts. And you may have seen, I don't know if you have seen, but we have the Ming Encyclopedia, which has a similar kind of style, paper and writing. So this is a kind of one of the chronicles, historical chronicles, what they call 통지엔. 통지엔 means, tong means complete, jian means mirror, complete mirror. So it's a long history, and you look at the history as a mirror. Who is it useful for? It's for politicians. They're mainly concentrating on political and military history. And apparently Chairman Mao read this particular one, or the other one, for about 17 times and extensively commented on it. It's one of the things that Chinese politicians and leaders and emperors chose to read. So this is what we have here, and I think sort of be pretty sure that this is from the Imperial Academy or Imperial collections. What we have here, and there are 3 copies I discovered of these manuscripts. One is a small version, and the other one is a kind of normal version, and we have a quite large version. And you could see here, I was able to see the small version, which actually belonged to the Emperor Qianlong himself at the National Library in China last week, actually. And they nicely, kindly sent a few photos of images of it. I wasn't able to take photos, so you could see that all handwritten. This is the pocket version, about 11 centimeters high, about 6 centimeters wide. Very nicely written, very clear, but small. You could see here the emperor has written a poem about this small version, not this version, saying that how fond he was of this book, and he didn't get around to read it until he's 70 now. So he was able to have a pocket copy to take it with him when he travels to different places on his cart. So it's an important piece of work. And then there was the second, those slightly larger copies in the Palace Museum, which I wasn't able to see when I was in Beijing. So it's an important work, What we have here is not an imperial copy. It's a copy which is copied for as an editorial copy. Editorial copy of a book which is written in, first printed in 1507. It's a Ming chronicle. And then because it's a short chronicle, it was liked by the emperor instead of these long chronicles on the other side. So what happened with this one? And in about just before 1760s, the emperor ordered his scholars to create his own chronicle, shorter chronicle. And that chronicle, we don't have the one is published in 1767, We don't have the 1767 version, but we have the 1872 print of it. So that's kind of basis for this one. So emperor has his own chronicle. That's the Ming Emperor's chronicle, which is before the current one. And when this was printed, and it was all fine, and that copy, when Emperor was 70, was about the same time as this one is printed. This Emperor still liked that one. And then in 1773, the Emperor has started this massive, big bibliographic project. And it's probably the biggest ever bibliographic printing, copying project undertaken by any human beings. And he collected, organized, and all the scholars and collected about all the books he can get hold of from across China. And the scholars edited them, and the best ones that the emperor liked has become about 3,500 works. They hand-copied seven times and placed in 7 different places in the empire. And then the next one is about, he also had some works that he thought that it's not worth copying, but it's worth mentioning. So there's a bibliography here. We have a bibliography of this here. And that is about 112 volumes. And then there is another set of works, which is another further 3,000 works. It says that we just leave it, it's not kind of worthwhile. But also there are about 3,500 works which was forbidden and perhaps destroyed. So among all this project, when this has taken place, that book has disappeared. None of the bibliographies include that particular Ming chronicle. There was a professor in Tianjin, which is Beijing, he specializes this, and he wrote a few articles. And I checked it, he is unaware of what we have here. And this is an editorial copy with lots of, you could see little slips, that's editorial notes, what is added, what is taken out. So the Manchus, commenting on that. So it's a mystery that why that particular book was not included in all the bibliographies. It's just like a cancellation of, that's what we call it now, what we do, the term. So that's the kind of, gives a little history, and I think I examined that carefully and try to see if that gives any clue, and obviously there's a clue, like the Manchus had different ideology, and they were from the north, outside the Great Wall, and they didn't like the terms that being used, and they also added some towards the end. You could see the last one is about Mongols, and the Mongols is kind of quite close, so they added, from Mongol period, they added more victories compared to what Ming has done. So there's lots of things, but specifically looking through all these notes, I think it's going to give us a lot of some clue to how it's disappeared. But what I have here, the chronicles and the first history started around 2nd century BCE in China by somebody called Sima Qian. And it's the long, very kind of substantive history started then, it still survives. And then this one, yeah. This one started, this is the second one, it's the Chronicle History, which is written in 11th century. That's 294 chapters and 100 volumes. Then later on, the new Confucian Jushi wrote another one, which is slightly shorter, about a century later. This is what it is. This one has the Yuan, the 14th century block, but printed in 16th century. And we have 12th century block printed in, again, in 16th century. And this is another version during the Yuan-Mongol period. That was also tried to abbreviate all these long works so that it can be read by more people without spending too much time. And then the last one, this one here, as you can see, this is also a manuscript, but it's a hybrid of manuscript and print, because they lost the print version at the beginning. So, over to you. And the original work of that one from 1507 is here. We don't have a copy of the original, but I printed out some images. So this was copied in exactly the same way as that one. Page numbers, number of characters, rows, all the same. So over to you.